What if everything you thought you knew about a legend, well, it wasn't the whole story? What if there was this hidden chapter, a crucial detail that just challenges the official narrative? Today, we're diving into a really fascinating, decades old mystery from the world of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Quite a tale. Two young titans, a series of legendary clashes, and this fierce battle over whose version of history truly prevails.
That's right. Our deep dive today, it's all about Fernando Rozental.
Mhm.
He's often referred to, maybe controversially, as the poor kid. And we're looking at his three pivotal confrontations with the icon, Rickson Gracie. For, gosh, over half a century, Rosental's side of these events just remained largely unknown. It was, well, as our sources put it, sort of hidden by a large part of the community and ignored by the historiography of the gentle art.
Exactly. And that's really our mission today, isn't it? We've gathered insights from both sides here. We've got excerpts from Rickson Gracie's 2021 autobiography, Respire, A Life in Motion, and then these detailed, sometimes really passionate accounts directly from Fernando Rozental himself.
Right.
So our goal is to try and unpack these, really diverging narratives, understand what might have actually happened, and maybe give voice to a story that, well, Rozental certainly believes deserves to be told with justice and integrity.
So yeah, get ready. It's a story told from two very different perspectives, lots of dramatic moments, surprising details. It really brings those early days of competitive jiu-jitsu vividly to life.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We need to transport you back. Think Brazil, early 1970s. You got to imagine these intense, formative years for Brazilian jiu-jitsu tournaments. It was a time when the sport was, still forging its identity, raw, unfiltered. And into this scene steps a young Fernando Rozental, born in 1960. He started his jiu-jitsu journey incredibly young, just 12 years old in 1972. He was under Grandmaster João Alberto Barreto and Master Lúcio Novelli, and Rozental actually considers Novelli his true teacher, crediting him with imparting what he calls accurate technical teachings.
And this wasn't just any kid stepping onto the mat. By 13, this is 1973, Rozental had already won the first official jiu-jitsu championship of Guanabara,
Yeah.
which is widely seen as Brazil's very first official championship.
Wow, at 13.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
Yellow belt, and apparently finishing opponents in the first few seconds of the fight.
Yeah.
He was already known for having this aggressive, precise, and finishing style. Meanwhile, you got Rickson Gracie, part of the legendary Gracie family, already an undeniable rising star.
Right.
So the stage is set for their first clash, 1974, at a tournament at João Alberto Barreto's academy. Both are orange belts. Rozental had just turned 14. Rickson was described as more aged, but still, they're teenagers. And what's really striking here and where the conflict starts is Rickson's autobiography, Respire. It recounts this event, but it calls the opponent the poor kid and says the defeat was down to astonishing physical strength. And this is where Rozental's fight for what he sees as historical accuracy really kicks off.
Okay. So this is where it gets really juicy. Let's start with Rickson's version. First fight, straight from his book. He writes, and I'm quoting here, "The last time I lost a competition, I was 14 years old and an orange belt. I remember it like yesterday. When the match began and my opponent and I fell to the mat, I was surprised by his physical strength. Before I knew what was happening, he was on my back, strangling me. I tapped to the mat, furious with myself." And Rickson explicitly states this was the only time he was ever finished in competition. He says this moment, it left a lasting impact, drove him to train even harder, declaring, "The poor kid who beat me now had a target on his head."
But hold on right there, because Rozental's counter-narrative, it comes in really strong, almost emotional. He's like, wait a minute, I wasn't a poor kid, and it definitely wasn't about astonishing physical strength. He actually recalls having no idea who Rickson even was at the time. Rozental details that he attacked straight away, applied a hook sweep outside, and it was Soto Gare. And in the scramble that followed, he got to Rickson's back, secured a rear naked choke, a mata leão. The fight, according to him, over in a few seconds, quick and uncontestable.
So totally different mechanism than just strength.
Exactly. And that's Rozental's core point. His victory was due to technical merit, agility, and precision. The very essence of jiu-jitsu for the weak, letting a smaller or physically maybe inferior person finish a stronger opponent. He mentions he was regularly training with much stronger adults and finishing them too. And get this, Rozental adds this fascinating sensory detail about his style. He says, "The perception of this astonishing physical strength was shared by others throughout my journey, and even today, at 65, I still hear it." But, he clarifies, this impression is the effect of precise grips and intelligent use of levers.
That's a really powerful insight, isn't it? Technique over brute force, the heart of BJJ.
Precisely. Okay, so moving on. The second fight. This is just a few months later, still 1974, at the second official Jiu Jitsu championship of Guanabara.
Right, the rematch.
I-
So what does Rickson say about this one?
Well, Rickson's version in his book is brief. He just states he won, but only by referee's decision.
Yeah.
And he claims this result left him even angrier and more motivated.
Okay, won by referee's decision. That sounds straightforward enough, but I suspect Rozental sees it differently.
Oh, absolutely. Rozental vehemently disputes Rickson's account here. He calls Rickson's version fanciful and baseless. He states flatly that Rickson did not score a single point.
Not a single point. Wow.
Yeah. Imagine the scene he paints. Rickson keeps trying to take him down with a double leg, the Bayana. But Rozental says he had this conditioned reflex. He'd just sit, grab Rickson's belt, use Rickson's own momentum to throw him, then follow up with a somersault trying to get the mount. 5 failed attempts like this, according to Rozental. After the 5th, Rickson apparently couldn't even get up.
So Rozental was dominating the action.
Seems like it. He says he then passed the guard, mounted, stabilized, got his right hand deep in the collar for a choke, and just as he was bringing his left hand in to finish, the gong sounded. End of the fight.
Saved by the bell. Or the gong in this case.
Exactly what Rozental says, saved by the gong. But here's the twist, the controversial part. Rolls Gracie, who is Rickson's half-brother, was one of the 3 judges. Rolls, surprisingly, attributed the victory to Rickson.
Ah, okay. Conflict of interest, maybe.
Well, here's the crucial detail. Rozental says, the other 2 judges voted in my favor, granting Rozental the win by majority decision.
So Rozental actually won, despite Roll's vote.
According to Rozental, yes. And what really seems to solidify his claim is this symbolic moment afterwards. He received the gold medal directly from the hands of Helio Gracie, Rickson's father, the Federation president. Rozental sees that as Helio himself reaffirming the legitimacy of his triumph. He even adds that João Alberto Barreto, the vice president, openly reprimanded Rolls with his finger pointed at his face.
Wow, that's quite a scene.
And just to underscore his performance that day, Rozental also won the absolute category in the same championship. A precocious and incontestable consecration, as he puts it.
Okay, this story just keeps getting more intense. So now we get to the third and final showdown. It's 1975, third official Jiu Jitsu championship. Now they're both green belts, and remember, Rickson had explicitly put that target on Rozental's back after those first 2 fights. So Rickson's account of this third fight, it's even more dramatic, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
He describes his opponent putting a foot on my hip, trapping him in a light armbar. He says he felt ligaments and tendons making pop, but insists he didn't tap. He claims he then freed my arm, passed to the top, and strangled him, and apparently proclaims, I kept saying, don't tap, mother verver, don't tap, and finishes by saying, Rozental tapped the mat and was never a challenge to me again.
Right. A very vivid and aggressive account from Rickson. But Rozental's rebuttal is equally intense. He basically says the narrative seems to refer to another fight.
He denies the whole setup.
Completely. There was no foot on the hip, no leg over my head, no light armbar. That's what he says. He then recreates what he insists is the true drama. Rickson was more cautious this time, using an inverted stance to avoid the takedowns. But Rozental says he found a breach, applied an ouchigari, that's a hook inside takedown, and immediately fell into a kesagatam, a scarf hold, trapping Rickson's left arm in what he calls an improvised armbar. And now, kind of nodding to Rickson's own account, Rozental calls this the chave pop, the pop key.
The pop key. So the pop did happen, according to Rozental.
Oh, yes. He says as the pressure mounted, he heard a dry, loud snap, as if something had broken. He describes it as a very loud pop that was heard outside the mat.
Whoa, so what happened then if Rickson didn't tap?
This is the absolute core of Rozental's story, the moment that changes everything. He admits, I stopped. I became vulnerable. He heard the pop, thought he had seriously injured Rickson, and instinctively eased the pressure.
He let go, out of compassion.
Exactly. An instinctive reaction. Empathy, perhaps. But Rickson didn't stop. Rozental says Rickson continued, grabbed my collar from behind, and finished me with a choke.
Wow. So Rozental claims he only lost because he showed compassion?
That's his account. And he emphasizes this was the only time I was ever finished, either in competition or in gym training, since the first championship in 1973. That moment, that act of compassion cost him the match.
That's a profound lesson to learn in the heat of battle.
Absolutely. Rozental himself says, I learned that stopping a fight can cost me the victory. And as for Rickson's claim that Rozental was never a challenge again, Rozental clarifies they simply never crossed paths again in subsequent tournaments. It wasn't about challenge, just circumstance. He points out he kept competing and winning various championships until 1980. Events Rickson wasn't in.
Like at Club Montana, Club Mello, places like that. Okay. So this profound lesson learned in vulnerability, this costly act of compassion, you think that's why his story faded? Why it remained hidden? Did he just choose silence after that? Focused on his engineering career, avoided the fame game?
That seems to be the case. He never really sought the spotlight or got into ego battles. His motivation for speaking out now, decades later, he's very clear about it. It's not a contest of versions for vanity, but a defense of historical truth. He wants to ensure that facts and not narratives rewritten over time prevail in the memory of jiu-jitsu.
Makes sense. And his silence wasn't because he faded away from jiu-jitsu entirely, right? His contributions went beyond just these fights.
Oh, absolutely. His legacy is significant. He was actually the third black belt directly formed by the legendary Rickson Gracie. That was February 24th, 1981, his 21st birthday. He came after other legends like Carlos Rosado and Fernando Pinduca.
So, Rickson Gracie lineage, that's serious.
Very serious. And despite having limited physical preparation, because he was working full-time as an engineer, he famously says he trained little, but finished a lot. His style was about efficiency. He describes his techniques as simple, very simple, but extremely effective.
Which ties back to that whole precise grips and intelligent use of levers idea.
Exactly. It goes back to that core principle. It's a reminder that true jiu-jitsu, classic jiu-jitsu maybe, wasn't just about athletic prowess. It was physics, elegance. There's this great anecdote from Marcelo Bustamante, who trained around the same time. He recalled, Rozental gave the Japanese guy a foot to the face and immediately dropped with the arm hooked. The Japanese guy lost his way home. Just clinical.
Oh, you see a picture.
It does. And Rozental's still involved. He still exchanges ideas, techniques with younger generations. Says he's always learning and still writing our history. Okay. And recognition did come later. In 2019, he was honored with the 8th degree red and white belt by masters like João Alberto Barreto and Lúcio Novelli. His message today is pretty clear. He believes effective and surprising finishing techniques are eternal and valuable, regardless of whether jiu-jitsu has evolved or devolved over time.
So, wrapping this up, what does it all mean? Whose story do we ultimately believe? I mean, this deep dive, it really isn't just about who won or lost these specific matches, is it? It feels more about the nature of history itself, about memory, how legacies get constructed. And it definitely reminds us that behind every celebrated figure like Rickson, there are often these untold stories, just as rich, just as compelling.
Yeah, it really raises an important question, I think. In this world just saturated with information, how do you discern truth from narrative?
Yeah.
And how crucial is it, really, to seek out these hidden stories? Not necessarily to tear down legends, but just to paint a fuller, more authentic picture of human endeavor, of sporting history, all of it. You know, maybe Rozental's quiet, powerful insistence on historical integrity and his focus on that pure leverage-based technique. Maybe that's as much a lesson in the gentle art as any submission hold. What stands out to you when you hear this whole forgotten chapter?
For me, it's just that powerful reminder. Always consider there's more than one side to every single story. And the real richness of history, maybe the real truth, often lies in digging up those alternative perspectives, especially when they challenge the narratives we've just, come to accept as fact. Makes you think.